The MAGA movement is a false god and is a false idol. And to let a picture prove my point, let's look at a picture that I would like to show you. The picture on the left is the ancient Israelites worshiping the golden calf. The picture on the right is the golden trump. This is an AI-generated video, image still, that was released by the White House about Trump's Gaza. That is, Trump's plan to get rid of Palestinians and to make Gaza into a resort. The MAGA movement is a false idol.
What's up, everybody? Major Retired Richard Ojeda here, and if you call yourself a Christian in America today, you've got to be downright perplexed as to how Donald Trump and MAGA Evangelicals have essentially hijacked your faith and turned it into something unrecognizable and completely antithetical to the teachings of Jesus. And it's a damn shame.
MAGA says, nothing wrong with the gold statue of Trump, just symbolic. But the Bible says they have made for themselves a golden calf. It was particularly telling when MAGA made a golden statue of Trump that they could worship. It was just like worshiping the golden calf. We're to worship God, not human leaders, and certainly not leaders that stand in opposition to absolutely everything that Jesus taught. MAGA says Trump was chosen by God to rule America. But the Bible says, let not the mighty boast of their might. God didn't choose Trump to rule America. The American people made a poor decision. We are, as Christians, to worship God and to see God as our ultimate ruler who calls us to a society that is peaceful, created through the presence of justice. You see, the teachings of MAGA are simply incompatible with the teachings of Jesus Christ.
I mean, look around. It feels like we're watching that verse in 2 Timothy play out. The one where Paul warns Timothy that early Christians would turn away from the sound doctrine and chase whatever conspiracy or delusional nonsense that they wanted to hear instead of practicing love, discipline, and humility. Well, Paul didn't exactly say it that way, but you should get the picture. Ancient society probably had their own versions of MAGA numbskulls, intolerant, arrogant, and gullible. And it just seems like it's human behavior for some people to be oppositionally defiant to everything, especially anything factual, science-based, historical, or moral value, even when they don't have a clear understanding of what they're actually pushing back against. It's a quandary as to why some people can aspire to the heights of the human spirit, achieve remarkable feats for the benefit of society, while others are content to wade around in the cesspool of basic, unchecked carnal impulses. And if you look closely, you can definitely see the parallels between then and now. Back then, the danger was that people were chasing myths, speculation, and influencers who told them what they wanted to hear. Because why? For money and power. It's no different. In the early church, the end times and the apocalypse were always on people's minds, and there were a lot of false teachers to lead them astray. Now it's vaccines are bad, fluoride is blocking your third eye, fake psychics are selling ascension packages, phony nutritionists peddling miracle cures for everything, and a steady stream of fear and paranoia to wash it all down. Take this guy who called into C-SPAN's Washington Journal and labeled Donald Trump a pedophile. If you think it doesn't happen, listen to this, because what this guy lays out is more than frustration. It's pretty much hits the nail on the head of what's going on in Christianity in America today.
My family members, they do worship Donald Trump. They do believe he is Jesus Christ. So when he shows that image of himself as the Christ, that's how they see him. My family doesn't pray for Donald Trump. They pray to him. They worship him. You understand? This is a cult. And they believe, my father believes Donald Trump was born without sin, that he is God in human flesh, that my father said Trump never lies. Do you understand me? And that he was sent by himself to save the world from the Mexicans. This is a religion of racism. The Christians ran out of Jews to kill, the Catholics, in Nazi Germany. And so they moved on to immigrants and Mexicans and gays. MAGAs hate the same people the Nazis hated.
And how far off is he? Because we probably know someone who thinks that Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ, talks about him like he's their Messiah, dresses up in clothes and his merchandise, put his posters on the wall. These are like the hardcore roadies who lack a good set of coping skills and common sense. You know, all caught up in the starstruck, so they can't see the shit stains. A lot of this is because of the emotion. People feel their wants, their expectations, their daydreams, their delusions, their fantasies, and it all gets mixed together. It shapes how they see the world, how they go about their day, how they treat other people, how they function in their community, which ultimately affects their community. And that's exactly what Paul the Apostle was saying to Timothy. These are the kinds of things the early church needed to watch out for. Don't fall into this. And how ironic is it that here we are 2,000 years later, and MAGA evangelicals are doing the exact same thing that they were warned not to do. And why? Because as Reverend Dr. Caleb J. Lines, also known as the Anti-MAGA preacher, pretty much lays it out. MAGA is a false god. It's a false idol. And the teachings of MAGA are completely antithetical to the teachings of Jesus Christ. You can't call yourself a Christian while calling to harm an immigrant, while Jesus is saying, welcome the stranger. Basically, what MAGA has done is they've built themselves a golden calf. That is exactly what this is. Normal people don't worship human leaders. Cult members do. MAGA says Trump was chosen by God to rule America. That's sheer delusion. God didn't choose Trump to rule America. The American people made a decision, and a bad one at that. If you go back and listen to that C-SPAN caller, what you heard wasn't just somebody ranting. That was somebody trying to make sense of something that doesn't make sense anymore. He's looking at people who claim to follow Christ and then watching them treat Donald Trump, of all people, like he's divine, like he's beyond criticism, like he can do no wrong. It's absolutely disgusting. That's not normal, and that's not faith. That's what it looks like when belief gets twisted into something it was never meant to be. That disconnect, that contradiction, and that's what willful ignorance looks like. Because they'll tell you there's nothing wrong with the golden statue of Donald Trump. It's just symbolic. But symbolic of what? Is it symbolic of leadership, or is it symbolic of the need to believe in something so badly that you stop questioning it altogether? It's about faith, or is it about poor coping skills and a twisted version of reality that feels better than the truth? I mean, hell, at some point you almost have to ask them, when they say they believe in Jesus, which one are you talking about? The brown-skinned Palestinian who challenged power, cared for the poor, and told you to love your neighbor? Or this modern made-up version, the one wrapped in politics, carrying an AR-15, charging co-pays for healthcare, and turning his back on the hungry, the sick, and the vulnerable? Because you can't have it both ways. It's not both. It's one or the other. And that C-SPAN caller did hit one thing right on the head in the end. It really does come down to good versus evil. You got to pick a side. Because at the end of the day, the truth is simple. The teachings of MAGA are simply incompatible with the teachings of Jesus Christ. And that is an absolute fact. Sappers clear the way, airborne all the way.